Hello everybody, welcome back to VDVRE Arcade. Today I'm going to go over swapping out this broken part for their new updated pulley part for the Core 2 Cat VR treadmill. I didn't see anything on YouTube on this, so I felt it would be nice to have a video reference in this because I think this is something that breaks a lot due to the design. You know, you just get metal fatigue after a while in this kind of a spring, so then it just ends up snapping and then you don't lose it. Now I've played without this, and you can play without it. It's not a detriment. It's not super horrible, but it does weight a little bit on your waist and wants to fall down. This does help when it is working, but these are prone to failure. So if you're someone who bought a Core 2, this might be something that you end up having to replace in the future. Now I bought mine secondhand from a guy who only had 2.4 kilometers on it, and I got it for $600. So it was a deal for me. So I guess I don't mind. Now I was forced to at least pay the shipping. They said they gave this to me for free, but it was $28 shipping from China. Either I paid for this and the shipping was free, or it was a combo. I don't care. The $28 is fine considering I didn't buy it from them and I didn't have a warranty. So I'm not going to complain. But it's definitely better than this. The weird thing is you've got to drill a hole into the plate to make this work, and then they don't provide you with a screw. The screw that you get when you take the other part of this off, which I'll show, is too fat for the plastic, and I don't want to drill out the plastic, so you have to provide yourself another screw. Now I have tons of hardware around here because I want to develop these gun stocks, and two, I run a sign company, so I have lots of hardware. So for me, that's not a problem, but for you, you might need to get like a 2.5 inch, like 632 or screw. I think is probably the size you might be able to get size 8, you know, but I think that's about the size of these. So you'll need one of those, and that's really it. But this definitely seems like a lot better solution. So without any more talking, let me just get into showing you exactly kind of what you got to do up close and personal. So, here's the top of the Core 2. Now I already took the liberty of taking off the top plastic housing because I figured everybody already knows what you got to take that off to get to that. So that's going to be, you know, 8 screws. 2 on the side of these here right there, and then the 4 that hold each other together. But it's pretty simple. Aside from that, you're going to have to take these 3 screws out to be able to get the brackets off so that you can actually grab this and get this part in between where that is. Otherwise, it won't go. Now, all right, now you'll need to have either a socket. Now, they provided me with a wrench and an Allen wrench to be able to take this apart, and you should have this stuff if you bought it and you have the toolkit. I did get that with it when I got it from the person I got mine from. But this is really cheap. Really cheap, and it was starting to bend. These were so tight on here that this started to open up the mouth because it's soft steel, it's not hard steel. So these are next to garbage. But if you don't have nothing, it's not that tight for you, maybe it'll work. But I just used some real stuff, something with a little bigger, with more leverage to crack them loose. Now I've already got them already loose, right? So I don't really have to do a whole lot to take them off. But basically you just unloosen all of them, and then you just unscrew it, and this is the first one you're gonna take off. All right, so you just pull the screw out. Now the weird thing is this screw is fatter than the hole for this, so you can't use it, which is goofy, but you set that away because that's garbage. And then you got to take this brackets apart. You got to take at least 1 screw off and just set that down. And then you got to take this nut off and then slide this back plate off and then set it down, right? And then you grab your new part, and I slide this up like this because you can't see down here, but where this is the front on this edge, you know, but I got it zoomed in up here, but down here is the front where you attach this bracket. So you want it to be facing towards me is how I'm doing it. So you'd set it in here like this, so you get that in between the bars. Then you can take this, set this back down, because what you'll see is on the bottom here, there's this little notch, this little steel guide, and that little steel guide fits inside this tube here on the top. So that's how you know you've got it seated right. So when you get it in there, down the center like that, it shouldn't want to slide either forwards or backwards. It should be pretty solid in there. So as long as you just pinch it, and you can grab your nut and grab your other plate, and then you can just put the plate like that and then take your nut. Now you've got it to where it's not going to fall out. It's not secure because it's still movable, but because this is underneath the bars, you're not going to be able to take it out. So the next thing you do is you just grab your next screw that you took out, and then you just put it in. Now, they should have had some kind of design, but they probably can't because the way the mechanism works with this, where you could use this, or they should make the hole bigger. But what you've got to do next, which is the goofy part, is it sits right here, because if you try and move this to where it would be up here, then the cable would actually rub against the edge of this pipe over here on the inside. And then you're dragging. That's not going to be good. This cable's going to wear and break. So you got to have it sitting in there, and that's probably why they have it there. But because they don't send you these brackets with it, the new brackets, if they're making them new, probably already have this design changed. So when you're doing it on an older model that happens to have this part break, you're going to be forced to drill. What I do to make it simple when you guide it is you're going to want to tighten these up first. So you want to make sure they're tight so there's no play in them. that. You know what I mean? You don't have to use the force of God or anything to tighten them. Just make sure they're snug so they don't loosen up on you. Because you want these to not move when you're drilling. Because I'm kind of doing a cheater drill. You could try and do all your measuring and do all that and whatever, but this is going to be the easiest way. You can't be a real horrible with the drill, but you make sure you got a drill with the right size drill bit to fit inside. And you can come from the back side, and if you hold this in, then you can drill, and you will end up drilling through. And you shouldn't damage this. You might see a little bit of plastic shavings, okay? But you're not going to damage it to the point where it's going to hurt it. But you just drill, so then you know when it's seated in there solid, you're lined up with that. And this is what I meant. Now, I already drilled my hole, and you can see, and ultimately what you want to do is you want to get another nut now to go all the way. As you can see, that nut is in there nice and tight. This doesn't move around, and you can pull on this, and it's nice and centered inside there, which is what you want. You don't want it dragging on anything. Where that coil that they had before, the problem with this design, and I think it's part of with them trying to go cheap, is it's a cheap solution. But what some people might not understand is you're going to get metal fatigue, and that's what happens. You get metal fatigue, and then it cracks. And as soon as it cracks, it just slowly cracks until the whole thing cracks. So this is a much better solution. Definitely a much better solution, in my opinion, than what they originally had. But that's just how it is. You know, I design these gun stocks here, you know, and I've made hundreds of changes and whatever. When I realize something sucks or doesn't work right or breaks easy or something, you know, I change it and fix it and make it better so that doesn't happen, because defects are a killer. Anybody who doesn't know, defects and warranties and that stuff is a killer. You don't want a lot of that. You want to make a good product so you don't have to deal with that, you know, and then you don't have unhappy customers. So there you have it, mounted, and there it is. It goes right up the middle all the way up to the top, and that's the new mechanism for that. And how you basically replace it. You can see I got my nut there, you know, so not the most difficult thing once you actually see what you got to do. But if you haven't done it before, you kind of sit there and think for a second, how does this thing go on? Because I thought at first that this hole mounted in this. And like I was saying in the beginning, the problem with that is then it would drag on this here. You know what I mean? Because the cable would be like right here, and then it would want to drag, and you can't have cables dragging on the edge. Those cables can break too. They're not impervious. But this way, they're not dragging on anything, and you would notice that drag. That would make it feel weird. So that fixes it. You know, I guess for me, I'm fine with it. I'm happy. I'm not going to rip on the company because the stuff broke, but I only had 40 kilometers on it myself before that broke. And I don't know if it was broken before I got it. I guess I didn't inspect it and didn't realize that, but this is definitely a better solution. So anybody who's buying them now, this is probably what you're getting. So I wouldn't be deterred if you're somebody who doesn't have one and you are leery because this might break. I wouldn't worry about that because this is what you're getting now. They're not using that stuff anymore. So anyways, let's get it back together and then I'm going to test it out. All right. So when I was trying to put this covers back on, the bottom cover is not a problem because the bracket's the same. But because this is so much bulkier, this thing right here, if you look, this cube right here is too wide to fit in between those two posts. These two posts right here, this and this. And if you look real closely, you can see those blades on it, those fin blades. This one right here and that one on the opposite side right there, those two need to be trimmed. And that's it. So it's not real difficult, but you're going to have to do that as well to make this fit back on. You can use just a little snips like this, something like this, or you can use a little grinder or whatever you got. You got a little Dremel will probably work, you know, but I'm just going to snip it on that side and just go down. And the thickness of these are about, if you haven't played with one, the thickness of this is roughly, I don't know, 5/8 of an inch maybe. So you don't need to go very far down when you're clipping here. But I'm going to clip just so I make sure I have enough clearance. And then let's see if it works. And if you want, you can clean it up better with some sandpaper, you know, on here after what you clip it. It's up to you. I don't care that much myself. But that's, everybody's preference is different. So I just clip that and then clip you again. And there you go. So now let's see if I can get this to fit on there. This goes on the front. Yep. So now it's not an issue because it clears that. So here you can kind of see it from the back, you know, because these two posts right here have to slide over this on each side. So basically, oh, you know what? No, another thing that I think I might have just learned that you can't do, because this side's good. Yeah, that side is good. Right. Oh, come on. What is going on here? Yeah, no, that side's good, but this side, not good. So another thing that I just realized that everybody gets to see is this screw right here needs to be probably spun the other direction. You can't have the bolt on this side. So that's on my bad for not knowing the clearance of what you need for this. So we'll just put it in the other side, and then we should probably be good. I should have took a cue from this one being on this side, but sometimes you just don't pay that close of attention. And it was late last night when I was doing this, so I didn't finish. So now it's a new day, and I'm out here to finish. So that should be better, because even that bracket's kind of, it's almost flush with that bracket, so you're not going to have that issue. Now let's check it again. Yep, now we're good. Now I can put in my screws on the side here. So yeah, basically when you're doing this, you got to do some modifications to the plastic housing here, and then you got to do some modifications to the bracket to be able to mount it securely. Otherwise, it'll just be loose in there. Maybe that wouldn't matter, but I don't know. It's not very difficult. But for some of you, if you don't have those a drill to do it, that becomes a headache. Since I do a lot of this stuff for a living, I have tools, so it's not hard for me. When you're building custom stuff, drilling a hole in steel is easy. Supposed to be easier than that. They don't give you no instructions and tell you any of that. I can just see it now. All the people frustrated and super irritated because they can't get it to work because it doesn't fit, because basically it's an after the fact fix for this older model. I'm sure again that this plastic housing is all changed. The brackets are all changed for all the models going forward that they make of this. And of course they did just release their C2 Plus Enhanced, and that's interesting. You could probably modify this the same way, at least put the foam padding under there to deaden the sound. I don't know if you can change the compression for the shock absorption the same, you know, but those are done differently. So I don't know if those have the same issue with this mechanism versus these cores, because the cores are done differently. They are not exactly, you know, the same in that regard. So I don't know what it's like inside that backpack thing that's right here on the other versions, where this one is just a control box up here and a really stripped down thing. And to be honest with you, I don't care that much for the money. I don't know if it's worth it. So there's that. And now this bad boy is all put together. All of that is a valve, constant valve. Well, that feels so much better already than not having it. I can tell you that right now. That's so much better than not having it. Outside of that, I don't know. It's been a while since I've used it with the strap. All I know is when mine broke, it was pinched in here. So this barely wanted to move, and it was like all super jacked. And when I was playing it, I didn't realize it. And then it was all like pulled way down on me. Super difficult, but so, yeah, I don't know, man. Seems to be fine. I actually like it better than this cable, or that flat ring. This system right here that they had that breaks. One of the other things that was no good about it was when it was up here, this part, and when it came down and went like this. So it would rub against this side here. It didn't come down strictly flat, because the way it's designed, the curvedness and the tightness of the curve of this made it so that it did that bowing, and I think that was part of the problem. So it's kind of S-curving it a little bit, you know, or C-curve and then come down. And that, I think, was what the problem was, because then you start getting stress when it's moving up and down. That can make it do that cracking, and that's why it breaks. So this is much better, because you've got pulleys that are directly in line with the channel here, and it's just going to drop up and down, up and down, up and down. So this is the way it should have been done when it was launched. But when you're launching a new product, trying to bring down costs so you can spread the use of it and expand it, which is ultimately the goal, and it's what I would like to see too, because the more people that are using this, the more this stuff gets included into games. I mean, look at how much haptics is included into games now. You see it all the time. It's getting added and added and added, native haptics and stuff, where if no one ever bought it, that stuff wouldn't get added, because developers wouldn't care. That's why I always tell developers, I want that stuff in games if you want me to buy your game. That's a standard that I consider needs to be there if you want me to consider your game. Same thing with my rig over here, which you haven't seen. I will be showing soon, but my rig over here, I want telemetry. And when I found out that Aces of Thunder is going to have telemetry in a story mode, oh, day one buy for me. Once I found out it's got telemetry, day one buy, because that's going to be so fun doing the story mode playing on my motion rig as I'm flying around. Feels like I'm flying in my motion rig. Oh, can't wait for that. Dog fighting and stuff, old World War II style. Oh, so much fun. I've also got Star Wars Squadrons that I'm going to be playing that way as well, but I think that's with joystick mode, which is a little bit different. Telemetry is more authentic, but yeah, definitely. So, at any rate, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this helps anybody that ever runs across this. If you have this unit, I don't know if this is going to pertain to anybody that has a C2 Plus or the new one, or a C1 or whatever, I'm not sure. But for anybody that has a core, an older core, not one of the new ones, because again, I'm sure the newer versions, this has all been changed. So this is what you get when you buy a new one today. Hopefully this helps anybody that has that and runs into this problem. It's difficult to figure out because there's some stuff that you basically just learn on the fly. You just saw what I learned on the fly, that you have to clip the plastic up in here and it doesn't fit exactly. Same thing with when I was trying to put it together in here. I thought it went to that center bolt because there was no hole in the plate. I didn't realize that they had it where you had to position it here and then drill. But it makes sense ultimately because it's an afterthought fix, and that's kind of how it works out. But it works. It feels better. I'm happy with it. And now I'm going to do some actual gaming because I haven't been gaming with it for about a couple weeks. So that'll be fun. So I've got some other videos coming showing off some gun stocks, SMGs across a few different games. So I will have that coming shortly, and then we'll see what comes after that. So hopefully this helped everybody who has a treadmill and wants to get into treadmilling VR style. And thank you, and have fun gaming.